Hello, and welcome to another episode of Crunk Explains It All, apparently. I mean, after the last episode of talking about Avatar, I thought I wouldn't mind actually talking about Avatar quite a bit, because I actually like talking about this, and I always feel that Avatar itself, I feel that it's perhaps underappreciated as a piece of modern art, I feel. Because I always feel Avatar represents an important step in Western animation, and really I won't say too much about that because that's kind of a topic I wouldn't mind talking about a lot more in a different video. But suffice to say, I would like to do a series of videos talking about this, so I think I shall. And I think I shall start, or continue on, from energy bending, to actually talking about more critical things about the show. And I want to focus on one particular episode today, which is the Ember Island players. And I'm sure anyone who's a fan of the show like me saw Ember Island players in that run-up of Sosin's Comet and really liked the episode. I mean, if you're enough of a nerd like me to really follow it, you would have seen the 5 minutes or so of it at Comic-Con before the actual thing came out, and we were like, wow. Yeah, finale's going to be awesome. But I think what I really liked about Ember Island players was, to me, it demonstrated the maturity of the show. Because, I mean, it's not unlikely that you'd ever see a program that wouldn't have some kind of self-parody within itself. I mean, I've seen it in stuff like Fairly Odd Parents, and, very the same. Funnily enough, a lot of stuff comes from Nickelodeon as well. But only Avatar's ever pulled it off in such a way that it's more of a fully realised self-parody. Something that isn't just breaking the fourth wall unnecessarily, such as when the character looks directly at the screen and says, "Look at me, I know I'm on television." It was a very meta thing to do. It felt oddly Shakespearean in a little way, because it reminded me of Hamlet, the play within the play. The play is the thing in which to catch out a king. So that's why I just felt particularly meta, that they would go see a play about themselves. And I mean, Sokka makes a little joke about it as well. I was saying, "You're going to see a play about ourselves? That's some slightly wacky, crazy business that I've been missing." The thing is, a play is a very good plot device to actually examine the characters themselves, because they are intentionally exaggerated and changed. And that's why Avatar impressed me with doing that. And what made us laugh the most is how the play addressed a lot of issues that the fan base had with the program. And so you can tell this was obviously made during that last 3-month dash to get the show out of the shed, which I never understood why that happened. I mean, that would probably be another issue I could talk about. But moving on. I mean, there were some issues that I thought were just quite funny, really. I'm sure anyone who's a fan of the show like me remembers the Great Divide, but I think it's episode 11 in Book 1, when they come to Great Canyon and they decide to ferry some people across. It's because Aang decides to ferry the sick and the wounded across it, and so they end up having to walk through the valley of two warring tribes against each other. And a lot of fans always said the Great Divide is filler because it doesn't really add anything to the story. Yeah, I mean, it shows Aang a decent lesson in cooperation, but there's nothing more than he would have learned anywhere else. So, generally, it's kind of decided by the fanbase that Great Divide is filler. And it was very gratifying to see that the program actually realised this. Because it shows, there's a little scene in the play with them flying across it. Look, the Great Divide, the greatest canyon in the Earth Kingdom. Sokka says, let's keep flying. It completely ignores it. That just made me laugh a lot. and how all the characteristics and catchphrases of the characters were parodied as well. Obviously, Zuko, a deep, complex and developed character, we've seen him change throughout a lot of the show, but in Book 1 he was fairly one-dimensional. All about honour. I mean, he still goes on about honour. It's another issue another time. But he goes on a lot about honour, and it just seems his catchphrase is honour, like how near the end of the play when Zuko gets killed, he dies with a phrase of honour, which was a laugh. And how it also made a laugh of a joke of Katara's constant hope speeches, which I hadn't really noticed, and I didn't really think that was what it was, but then I realised every single episode starts with Katara's voiceover. And it's like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. It's a constant thing, Katara. She is meant to be the voice of hope in it. And of course, all the characters do develop and change throughout it. But, yeah. Katara and her hope speeches. She loves it. But, what made me laugh the most for Avatar, for Ember Island players, was how it discussed shipping. And now, shipping, and first things around shipping, I want to talk about separately. But I imagine if you're watching this, you know enough about Avatar myself. I thought it was brilliant how they discussed shipping. I thought it was brilliant that they even recognised it. Because I'm pretty sure that shipping was something that only cropped up from the fan base to tell them to see what would happen. Find out who Katara would go with in the end, even though the plot made it perfectly clear, but another issue for another time. And well, that's what I thought made it interesting, because the modern players almost ridiculed Katara a little bit by showing how oddly placed it was in the narrative. Because it has the scene in Book 2 finale when Zuko and Katara are trapped in the prison, surrounded by the crystals. And of course we all know what happens there. Katara is about to heal them with spirit water. But how in the play it just shows that for some reason their characters have a complete reversal, and Katara suddenly starts going, oh yes, I can never love Aang, he's like a brother to me, and whereas you're so grim and dashing. And obviously it doesn't make any sense. It's completely out of style for both the characters, but that's what happened. And that's why I think it was a very good commentary on the whole issue of shipping. Then again, what made the rest of the episode quite funny was all just little in-jokes as well. Like how the character Toph was originally conceived to be a big beefy bloke, and so they made Toph in the play a big beefy bloke. And the thing what I always thought was interesting as well, was what kind of glossed over perhaps by others, is that Aang is played by a woman in the play. And it's like, what? I'm not a woman! I'm not a woman! But in reality, I mean, the person, the child actor who voiced Aang is something of a rarity in children's animation, because generally any small boy, will be voiced by a woman, because they're the only ones who can make their voice go low enough and yet have the professional acumen to voice them properly. we got to look at Snatty Cartwright in The Simpsons, voiced of Bart Simpson, voiced for years. And so Aang character would typically be voiced by a woman. And that's what makes you feel the show is quite clever. Really. Staggers me a bit. Well, to be honest, this wasn't really much of an analysis, just me commenting on facts. But I just wanted to give examples of why Ember Island players represents a good example for critical analysis of Avatar. Because, as I said before, it is not a self-parody, the episode. It's not breaking the fourth wall, it's just meta. It's the play within a play. Quite literally. So, yeah, you're enjoying the smell of that. Yeah, so I worked out how to get back in colour again, and I decided to use the headset because you'd probably be able to hear me better. Because, well, you can understand, I'm using a laptop that has a shitty microphone. Anywho, I will intend to come back to these stuff soon, so hopefully I'll see you soon. My name's Crunk, and I'm out of here.